This is a meeting of the Council of the Municipality of the County of Annapolis. We'll start with the roll call. District 1.
Bruce Drew.
District 2.
Brian Buzzy Donald.
District 3. Alan Parrish. District 4.
Warburton.
District 5.
Third line.
District 6.
Alec Morrison.
District 7.
David Hudson.
District 8.
Michael Gunn.
District 9.
Wendy Sheridan.
District 10.
Brett Redden.
And District 11.
Diana Nutt.
Thank you. Next is disclosure of interest. Does anybody see anything on the agenda that they feel they may have a conflict and want to declare an interest? Seeing none, I'll move along to the approval of the agenda. I note that there's a public hearing at 11 o'clock. I did have one question about the agenda. I see there's no business arising from the minutes, and when I was reviewing the minutes from the previous meeting, I noticed that under the Middleton Railway Museum grant application, moved by Councillor Connell, seconded by Deputy Warden Gunn, that this recommendation be adjourned for consideration in July. Motion carried unanimously, so I'm just curious why that's not on the agenda.
That was included in the grants application that didn't get approved by the time it's information to the agenda package.
Okay, well, maybe in the future, if something, you could just indicate why it's not on our agenda when we move to have it. Councillor Connell?
That was also sent to be brought with the rest of the applications for the towns, not singly. So, and I was on the understanding there was only 6 or 7 other grants from other towns. So, again, it should be dealt with all at the same time, because if we only got X amount of money left in that kitty, if we do them individually, some in the end may lose out. I'd rather see all 6 or 7 than what we got for requests from the towns and the village, and so we can allocate the money equally.
So my understanding is this is all now going to come back in September, is that right? Is that where we're at? Mr. Dick, is that the understanding that these will all come back in September?
Yes.
We can't hear you, Mr. Dick.
Yes, that is correct, Mr. Warden.
Any other comments about the agenda?
Move to approve.
Move to approve by the Deputy Warden. Is there a seconder? Councilor LeBlanc? Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. All right. Adoption of the minutes. That's the next item on the agenda from the June 21st meeting. Is there any comments with respect to the minutes? Councilor LeBlanc.
On page 8 of 55, when the councilor's comments, it says that she was going to jail in bail. It was basically, I was asked to go, but I was unable to attend. So, just so it's clear.
Okay, do you want to change them?
That's recorded as it was stated at that meeting.
Okay. How's that? That's okay. I did go.
Okay. Anything else with respect to the minutes?
Move to approve. All the minutes.
Moved by the Deputy Warden to accept the minutes as circulated. Is there a seconder? Councilor Pratt seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Next, business arising from the minutes. There's none in the council comments. District 1.
Thank you. Greetings from District 1. July's been moving by very quickly. I can't believe
We're on the 19th. I'd like to report that Canada Day celebrations were held at the Malvern Square Community Hall on July 1st for the first time in 3 years. Activities included a children's parade, a flag raising ceremony, bounce castle, a huge soap slide, and a huge thank you going out to the Kingston Fire Department for helping with that. We had hot dogs, cold drinks, freezies, and a crowd of over 200 people attended. So that was great to see that happen after not being able to do it for a couple of years. Also on Sunday, July the 10th, after the morning service, members and guests of the Malvern Square United Baptist Church enjoyed a strawberry shortcake social out on the front lawn. Spur Brothers Farm Market has opened on Bridge Street in Malvern Square until they're able to finish up the work that's being done in District 2 on Highway number 1 in Wilmot. So for the time being, and I was in yesterday, there's lots of produce there. That's great. And I've been meaning to do this for a while. While a number of councillors have mentioned flea markets, which are held in their district, I'd like to remind everyone that one of the biggest outside weekend flea markets, I think in Annapolis County, I won't say the Valley, but perhaps is in Wilmot, on the number 1 highway just east of Frenchies. And also I would like to encourage any former graduates of Middleton Regional High School to, if you can, attend the 70th reunion this weekend. It's held from Friday the 22nd to Sunday the 24th. And finally, I'd like to report I did receive a lot of good feedback from constituents for the June newsletter. I got calls from not just District 1, but a few from outside the district saying that they were impressed with it. And I did have one citizen who suggested that perhaps we could consider putting the actual monetary amounts in our pie graphs as opposed to just showing the percentage. So that might be an improvement. And I said, well, I would just pass it on. But overall, great feedback on that. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful summer.
District 2?
There's actually quite a bit going on around District 2 and this month. Heart of the Valley Festival, again, goes along with the reunion at the Middleton High School, July 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. The Middleton Fire Department's doing a half chicken dinner and on the 23rd, and you can order your meals. Just go on the website for the fire department or call 824-0912. And that's a fundraiser for the Heart of the Valley and the fire department. July 30th, 31st, and August 1st is Margarettsville Days. The parade starts at noon, Saturday, July 30th. And you can check this out on Facebook under Margarettsville Happenings. Also, Margarettsville's starting to have a monthly breakfast there in Margarettsville. In Port George, the monthly breakfasts have started up. They had their first one last month, and they ran out of food. They had so many people. So the helpers didn't even get anything to eat. So they figured they got to buy a little bit more for next time. But that's the first Sunday of every month from 8 to 10. I'd like to mention, I know that people are got to be tired from being poked up and cramped up and held up in hostility over the COVID over the last 2 years. A lot of people from this area participate in car shows, and there was a car show in Yarmouth this past weekend. 650 cars.
Wow.
The town was plugged. There was more than what there is at the Wharf Rat in Digby. They showed videos of the streets, and there was elbow to elbow. Completely unbelievable. So the car shows are happening, and like like I say, there's a lot of participants from our area that goes to that. My last thing is, I went to jail for a fundraiser for the McDonald Museum. I've participated before, and always willing to try to help out and volunteer. I raised $1,300 for them. So.
Thank you. In District 3, I don't know if I mentioned before, but there's a new Mexican restaurant on Main Street there beside the Old Town Hall. I've patronized it twice, and I recommend it if you like burritos and tacos and that sort of thing. And then next to it in the same building is going to be a clothing store. I keep looking to see if it's open. I think I saw an ad in the Reader that it was opening. So I can't say it's open right now, but it will be soon. And I would invite people to check it out. My wife and I attended the Hampton Lobster Dinner last Saturday or Sunday. They were pretty well sold out. It was a lovely evening, and I recommend it to everybody in future years. It's become a tradition now. There were at least 3 of us that brought tables on the wharf. One had a group of about 8 to 10 people around a large table eating lobster and a bottle of wine. I don't know if that's legal, but somebody's complaining. And it was a lovely evening there in Hampton. And I recommend it. They're keeping the lighthouse open in Hampton. I think they have a grant pending to us for some money for that, but I'm not certain. District 4.
Yeah, not a lot to mention, but it is with other districts, this is the time of year for farmers are producing lots of fresh fruit and vegetables. And lots of strawberries and everything else. Actually, I had strawberry shortcake last night. Thank you to my wife. There's lots of local great produce, and people are enjoying producing doing their own gardens as well. So get in and visit your local farms. There has been lots of use and access to the Annapolis River. So a lot of boat activity, and it's good to see. So our launch points in Bridgetown, especially in the area, are being well used. It's good to see because the Annapolis River is an untapped resource that we can get a lot more use of it. My wife and one of my daughters and I just loaded in went from Memphis to Bridgetown over the weekend. So I enjoy it a little bit nicer if it's a little calmer, but I shouldn't have liked that. The community hall still should be thought of as very important. They struggle to survive and support you can give when they have events. They greatly appreciate that. They have suppers and card games and whatever. So get in and support your local community. My district along that, I guess, Hawaii community also. They're all important. So for the longevity of our communities, or the longevity of these recreational halls, I think that we need to keep supporting.
Thank you. District 5.
Welcome from District 5, and as I hear the rain outside, I'm welcoming that. I hope some cooler air follows that shortly. School is out, and kids are out excited and certainly enjoying camps and lots of summer fun. Some things I'm sure that they haven't done in the past couple of years. Wishing them a very safe summer. As you know, when school closes, there are teachers. We have 2 teachers among us here. Teachers who will walk and have walked the halls for the final time, marking an end to time well spent and a tremendous commitment to our educational system. My sister was one of those, and she lives in my district. And so Susan Robinson Bernie walked those final halls at the end of June, and now we'll welcome her retirement. Over the past several weeks, we have celebrated Canada Day, Pride, and the LGBTQ community 2022. We are a community among many communities. I did not get to participate in the Cherry Carnival this year, but I saw amazing photos and participation. Many are feeling the lack of police presence in community as they're reporting to me many visitors or persons who live in communities running stop signs and with kids playing and motorcycles. It's just not safe. So I'm asking that everyone pay close attention and be a very defensive-minded traveler. It's lovely to see so many new travelers coming about and enjoying stays at mountaintop cottages over in my district, along with the Cove Campground and the Fundy Trail camping and cottages. And not to forget the glamping domes down in Port Wade. They are outstanding. The scenic drive on both sides of the North Mountain is as well delightful. So all the way from Victoria Beach up to Granville, and then on the other side, Delap's Cove up to Hampton. Please don't forget to stop alongside the road if there's fresh produce and whatnot. It's always lovely to support, and as well to remind everyone that Crow's Nest sits in my district and is a wonderful seafood opportunity. Committee meetings, of course, continue. I did on the weekend, July 17th, participate in a grand attendance at the Clarence Heritage unveiling of their plaque. And many were there, lots of stories were shared, and it was delightful to go throughout that building. It brought back memories for me, especially they were created so uniquely and so similarly in so many different ways throughout our county. So it was lovely. And I just have to say hats off to Avery, the young man who, alongside many others who would participated in pulling this all together. Avery is a young man and eager to support this heritage mission, and I was just amazed. Thank you to Deputy Warden Gunn for passing along a message from the county, and I was there in attendance with some other councillors, which was lovely. Councillor Connell and Councillor Bardo, Councillor Sheridan, and Councillor Redden. And as well, I didn't get to participate on the Annapolis Royal Band Fest, but I can only imagine it was amazing. His music is part of my life and my heart, so I'm hopeful that that was well attended and excited for all who attended. Thank you.
District 6.
Thank you. The latest edition of the Cornwallis Community Association newsletter has come out recently. If you have not received a copy, you can get it by email. The monthly breakfasts are starting in Cornwallis Park in Felker Hall on the second Saturday of every month, and the first one will be held on August the 13th, which is the second Saturday of the month. So the date and the activity will coincide. The Board of Directors of the Cornwallis Park Community Association meets next on August 5th at 7 p.m. And although it's called the Board of Directors of the Cornwallis Park Community Association, it really supports activities in all of District 6. So people from District 6 are entirely welcome to that. We had a group of friends from Germany who have visited us here 3 times and will be arriving again in a couple of weeks. They are folks who have aided Elizabeth and I in tracking down information about her uncle, a Second World War bomber pilot who was shot down twice and killed once. And the work that they have done in Germany in memory of her uncle is impressive and actually immeasurable. They come to the Maritimes, and in particular Annapolis County, because they really like it here and they like the reception they get and the people. One of the group is a beekeeper, and I've got a number of beekeepers in District 6, and I hope to marry the two of them together so they can exchange information about how to look after the bees. Thank you.
Thank you. District 7.
Thank you very much. Other than some calls of county-wide plan, the work on Queen Street, the sale of the old elementary school, and the former town hall, things in District 7 have been fairly quiet. I would like to note, however, that a fairly large tank containing some type of oil was dug up during the work on Queen Street. It is unknown how long the tank was buried and what its purpose was. Some believe that it may have contained oil to fuel the street lamps on Queen Street many years ago. That may seem like something that wouldn't be true, but I think if one was to research that, you would find that under Queen Street there are some things that were placed there many years ago. I hope everyone, like myself, is enjoying the summer weather and visits some family and friends from away. Early July is also the time of year when the fruit and vegetable stands open for the year. The new potatoes, carrots, peas, and beans are at their best, and I hope everyone is enjoying them as much as I am. Lastly, I would like to mention that there will be an auction fundraiser at the station on Saturday, July 24th at the station in Bridgetown to assist in the Ukrainian family that is being hosted by a local couple. The family consists of a young woman and her 2 young children. Her husband is still in the Ukraine fighting for the country. And I guess lastly, since our last meeting, I have attended several meetings. The Forestry Advisory Committee meeting in Annapolis, a Fire Services meeting in Lawrencetown, the Visioning Workshop in Bridgetown, and I also have had a couple of meetings with the representatives of the Bridgetown Tennis Club. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Where are we, District 8?
There we go. Thank you so much. And that tank, it's got to truly be a historic artifact. I wonder which museum will take it up. June was a very busy month across District 8, including a fundraiser for Bear River Eats community food program and a Clementsville rubbish sale at the Foresters Hall. Raven Haven has been busy with the boat borrowing program. Anyone interested in borrowing a stand-up paddleboard, kayak, or canoe can call Nancy Chisholm, our recreation director, and reserve a boat. What a great way to beat the heat. On the 18th of June, I was honored to represent the county at the Easton House plaque unveiling in Leakeel. There was a very informative presentation by Avery Jackson from the Heritage Advisory Committee. And a special thanks goes to the homeowners, the Francis family, for hosting the presenters, staff, and community members in attendance. I was happy to join members of the county staff and council in training for emergency management situations and the public visioning exercise for the community of Bridgetown. It's very important that the public take part in these community-centered meetings, as it gives residents an opportunity to speak about the zoning priorities for their area. They are well run by the planners, Victoria Hamilton and Brendan Lamb, who are gathering a lot of important information that will help steer our zoning plans for the county. Bear River Fire Department breakfast will be starting up again August 6th, I've been informed. And finally, my communications from constituents this month have been in the opposition to the vaccination policy and complaints mostly about cottage garbage bins. I've had some horrible pictures, and in District 8, the garbage bins on these cottage roads aren't well used. They're just all kinds of refuse and stuff piled up around them, from fridge to bids, everything. So that's a horrible thing. And a lot of people voice their opinion that they should be gone, and people take care of their own garbage. Anyway, that's what I have to report.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. District 10?
Just a few,
9?
just a few events to pass along. Some have already been mentioned. The Heart of the Valley Festival this weekend, along with the high school reunion in Middleton. The McDonald Museum Market takes place every Thursday from 4 to 7 p.m. And the Middleton and District Lions Club are holding their giant flea market at the Rotary Park Saturday, July 30th from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And this is in place of the flea market that usually took place at the Fort George Jamboree that everyone took part in and looked forward to. It's a huge flea market. So I'm hoping everybody can attend. Thank you.
Thank you. District 10?
Yeah, thank you. There's the RCMP musical ride at the Valley Exhibition this Saturday, the 26th. Our shows are at 2 and 7 p.m. and tickets are available in advance and online. It sounds like they're booking up pretty solid. And then there is the Annapolis County Exhibition in August with the Redneck Rodeo. It's all kind of jammed together, but we'll be, what I'm told, very familiar to everyone. And the exhibition is very busy. Very busy with preparations there.
Thank you. District 11?
Well, thank you. I guess we've talked about everything that's going on in the county, which is always nice to hear. So I don't have to report on the flea markets and the great 70th reunion at the MRHS. But I do want to report the fact that I see that the Three Rivers Community Center has begun their opening of entertaining and bringing different musicians to the hall, which is always nice because that's an enjoyable evening. And I hope it continues. Now, as far as everything else, everybody seems to be out and about, and I hear a lot of plans of weddings that are going to be happening. So everybody has decided that being it's open, we're going to all do as much as we can. So I wish to tell everyone in the county to have an enjoyable and safe summer month and enjoy it while we're open, because you never know what comes down the road. And I'd also like to say a welcome to our visitors in the back. We have a young little lady over there sitting there and being very quiet. So it's always interesting to see the young ones in this week. So thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. So we'll go on to committee and organizational reports. Item number 7.1 is committees of council and council meetings, procedures, policy. And there's been the final copy has been circulated along with the one with the changes. I guess we should have a motion on the floor to recommend that, and if there are any amendments that can come afterwards.
That's right, 7.1am-1.2.0, committees of council and council meetings, procedures, policy, new. That municipal council repeal AM-1.2.0, council meetings and procedures policy, and AM-1.3.5, committees of council policy, and approve AM-1.2.0, committees of council and council meetings, procedures policy, as amended, in accordance with 7-day notice given on June 27th, 2022. See attached. I guess I don't need that.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Longmire seconds. Discussion? Councillor Bartle?
I just noticed a couple of these. Just one at a time. In the
What page?
page 32 of 55.
32, did you say?
Yeah. with me a little bit this morning because I'm 1.5 ahead, so I'm trying to get through the day. Item G at the top of the page says majority means more than, okay, sorry, I did that wrong. More than, what's it half? Okay. Maybe that was one way. Okay. On page 33, item 3, we discussed previously that we did like the fourth Tuesday of the month, but that's still shown in there, not adjusted it.
Sorry,
I think that we kind of discussed the leaving the council meeting on the third Tuesday, but it still is a fourth.
No.
This is an accurate recitation of what the motion was.
Well, I've talked to others and the same way. I didn't think that passed through.
Yes.
It did.
Yeah.
Minutes are,
Well, I'd like to reconsider it.
you'd like to reconsider the fourth Tuesday at 10? Is it the time or is it
It's a day.
the day? Okay, do you have an amendment to the, do you have an amendment you wish to bring forward?
I guess I would just like to say to change the fourth to Tuesday to the third Tuesday as previously been practice.
Okay, is there a seconder for that? Is there a seconder for changing the word fourth to third? I don't see a seconder, Councilor Bruno.
Okay.
Is there anything else?
No.
Okay. Anybody else with any comments or questions? I have one, and I don't know if it's a question or what it is. So I'll pass the floor over to the Deputy Warden to say. I'm working off the amended that shows the changes. So I'm at 2455. And what I'm going to suggest is at the end, we state that a councillor may request that their vote is recorded. So if you look at this.
What number you on?
I'm sorry, good question. 25. Voting.
Okay, so your amendment is.
So the way it reads is it calls for a yes and no, and then a show of hands, and then it says any two council members can call for and obtain through the chairman a recorded vote with each council member's vote entered into the minutes. So that's if two people want all the votes recorded. There's nothing in here as is our practice where one of us says, I'd like my vote recorded. That's not here. And since we're dealing with this in this paragraph, and it talks about having a voice vote, there's nothing here that continues our practice of being able to ask that your vote be recorded. So I'm suggesting that at the end, we just have a sentence that says a councillor may request that their vote is recorded. So I'll make that amendment, that motion for an amendment. Second.
We got a second? Second by Councilor Berry. Any questions on it? Is there any questions? Councilor LeBlanc?
So I understand what you're adding, that's fine. But the two council members can call for, so we need two of us to obtain through the chair the recorded vote.
Everybody's recorded vote.
And you've added what to the end? Or a new sentence?
My motion is that at the end, a councillor may request that their vote is recorded.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other comments? Any other comments? And now I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. That was unanimous, Madam Clerk. And I'll hand the chair back to you.
Thank you very much. So the motion on the floor would be to approve the policy as amended. And anybody else?
Let me just raise a question.
Sure.
Sure. On page 25 of 55, it is 29. No, just for clarification, no counselor shall speak more than twice to the same question without the leave of counsel. I just would like leave of counsel kind of clarified. Because oftentimes, so much of our conversations have to go more than two, right? Because as it's growing in conversation, there's things that are raised that might trigger another person to want to speak. So I just don't know what without the leave of counsel.
I mean a majority vote of council. So in other words, if somebody wants to speak for a third time, if the chair is keeping track, you say Councillor X, this would be your third time, you can ask for a vote of council on a majority vote. Can Councillor X speak for the third time? Yes, no, and then we proceed moving it either way.
Perfect, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, I don't see anything else, so I will call for the question to approve the policy as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Let's see where we are. Okay, so we're down to 7.2 meetings in August. We need, I guess, a council motion for this.
Yep.
Okay. Deputy Warden, would you read?
7.2 meetings in August. The municipal council state there will be no scheduled meetings in August, including committees and council.
Is there a seconder for that? Councilor Morrison seconds. Yes, Madam Clerk.
Could I ask that after August you include 2022?
Would someone be prepared to make that amendment? Councillor Redden makes the amendment. Councillor LeBlanc seconds. Is there discussion? Councillor Morrison.
Why are we limiting it to this year?
I'll let the clerk respond since it's her idea.
Because it wasn't part of the policy, it wasn't a change in the policy, so that was my assumption that it was only for this year. If that's not it, I'm wrong.
Yeah, the impact of the amendment would be that this would only deal with the year 2022 as opposed to 2023. If we pass it as worded, then it would, I would assume, and I hadn't thought about this, it would impact future years. The council would have to move to have meetings in August. They'd have to have a motion to meet in August. That's the difference. Deputy Warden.
Thank you. In previous years, in July, we've always voted about no committee of the whole in August. That's something that's been pretty much standard every year since I've been here. Is that in July we make a motion that there'll be no committee of the whole in August. It's just been going on since I've been here. So, it's just something we go through every year.
Okay.
So that's now been covered in your policy, in this policy that you just passed.
Okay.
It says there's no committee of the whole in August. It was actually in your current one as well, but past practice was to request about that. So your current policy that you just passed states no committee of the whole. This is that there is no council or other committee meetings is what this motion is.
Okay.
Did I see your hand up, Councilor?
Well, you did, but I was going to say exactly what the clerk said. It's not in the policy that we just passed, so either we amend the policy or we accept this motion.
We're not amending the
Yeah.
policy, but it's
So-
just making, with this amendment, we'll be talking about this here. On the amendment, any further discussion at August 2022? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye, raise your hand. Aye. Opposed? 1 nay, 2 nays. Okay. So, further discussion on the motion as amended. Councilor Longmire?
When it speaks to including committees, are all committees considered equal committees? So, depending on like advisory versus,
All.
ad hoc. Okay, all. Just needed to clarify. Yeah, thanks.
Everything.
Thank you. Any other comments on the motion as amended? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried.
There's one.
1 nay, sorry. 2 nays. There were 2 nays, right?
What?
I think with respect to the vote, I think Councilor Morrison and Councilor Proud voted no.
No.
My mistake, sorry. Okay, 7.3.
7.3, Committee of the Whole, July 12th, 2022. Oh, approved road name, Raven Sky Lane. The Municipal Council approved the road named Raven Sky Lane for the private access road on PID 05141981 in Bridgetown North.
Is there a seconder? Councilor Hudson seconds. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye, raise your hand. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Since we passed
Yes.
the policy,
It's a yes.
I guess it's yes and no now,
Yes,
isn't it?
correct.
Yes.
All right, well, I'm fully prepared to be corrected. Now, I gotta tell you, it's gonna take a while to come off my lips, but I'll do my best. Okay.
7.4, Annapolis County Municipal Housing Corporation, Instrument of Incorporation amend. That Municipal Council amend the Instrument of Incorporation by which the Annapolis County Municipal Housing Corporation was established and approved by Instrument of Incorporation dated October 3rd, 1984, the Instrument of Incorporation, and amended from time to time is hereby amended by 1. Deleting in full the 3rd paragraph of the Instrument of Incorporation of the Annapolis County Municipal Housing Corporation, replacing it with the following. The corporation shall consist of a minimum of 6 members and a maximum of 8 members appointed by municipal council of the municipality of the County of Annapolis at its first regular meeting in November as follows. A. None of the members shall be a councillor or of the municipality of the County of Annapolis. B. No member shall be in a family relationship or associated as partner or business associated with any member of the board. The regular term of appointment as a member is 2 years. D. A member may be reappointed for an additional 2-year appointment. E. A member shall be may be reappointed after serving 4 consecutive years for not more than 2 additional 2-year terms to fill vacancies or provide for staggering of a member term. A member shall not serve on the board for more than 8 consecutive years. F. A member who has served on the board for the maximum 8 consecutive years shall be eligible for membership again after an absence from the membership for at least 1 year. G. Notwithstanding the 8-year term limit described in Section E, 2 members, Nancy McGrath and Gail Grover, whose current terms end in November of 2023, shall be permitted to remain on the board until November 2027, with which term extension was recommended by the Department of Seniors and Long-Term Care.
Is there a seconder for that? Councilor Longmire seconds. Discussion. Councilor Morrison.
I'd like to ask a question first. What do we call the numbers that are not spelled out?
What are you referring to?
The numbers in the motion that are not spelled out.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know what we call them, but this is the recommendation that came from the Housing Corporation's lawyer. That's why we left it in. We've taken it out of our documents, but I don't know what it's called.
All right, thank you. I'd like the lawyer to know that members of the council are literate and you don't need such explanations, but because they sent it and it's reflective of them, then I'm finished speaking. Thank you.
Other comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed say no. Motion's carried.
Good job.
When I said aye, my hand goes up. When I said yes, my hand.
Okay, 7.5.
7.5 AM-1.3.2 Public Participation Policy. That municipal council adopt AM-1.3.2 Public Participation Policy, 7-day notice.
Is there a seconder for that? Councilor Redden seconds. Discussion? Councilor Redden.
So having missed part of committee of the whole, I actually had a fair bit to say about this, and I will summarize now. I'm quite happy that this is before us, and I really want to commend staff for finding this gap in our policy and promptly fixing it. I think that's great. I want to pass it right now as we're about to do. Got some other things to say here. I also want to send it to our accessibility committee for recommendations to come back for future amendment to the policy. Part of our accessibility committee's mandate is to review our policy for accessibility. And from my brief conversations with the members of our accessibility committee, I expect they will have some really good insights for us. Speaking to the future, when I envision these recommendations coming back from our accessibility committee, I also would like to experiment with council with the idea of making this a bylaw. In part because it's attached to our planning documentation, and all of those things are bylaws. And part of the reason they're bylaws is, well, the MGA says so, but also it means you can't change them really fast on the public. And if this is participation regarding planning, I think it would say a lot that these are the rules we want to play by, and we're not going to change them around on you just because we don't like something in the future. And by making it a policy after we've refined it, or by in the future potentially making it a bylaw, having refined it some, we're really making a statement about how we are engaged in public participation, and we want to be engaged in public participation, and we're not going to mess around with it on you. Those are my thoughts. As to an amendment to achieve that, I don't know if the clerk would prefer to make this a little longer or have a separate motion to send it to the accessibility committee.
I'd like to see it as a separate motion.
Yeah. That was my thought.
Anything else?
No, I can be done now.
Okay. Councilor Longmire?
Yeah, I just want to thank Councillor Redden for raising all those points. I'm totally in agreement with that.
Anything else on the motion on the floor? Just to pass the public participation policy which was before us in committee of the whole. Seeing none, call for the vote. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? No. Motion carried. Now, Councillor Redden, I'll entertain, since it's not really a motion that's it's consistent with what we just did, so I'll entertain a motion if you'd like to make a motion to refer this.
The municipal council direct the accessibility committee to review AM 1.3.2 public participation policy. I think that's probably sufficient.
I think you should refer.
Referred, so.
So it would seem to me that council refer public participation policy to the accessibility committee for a report. Something like that. Does that work for you? That work for the clerk?
I'll second.
Are you putting a time when you want to report back?
No, I don't think so. I mean, that's up to them, I guess. Knowing them, this Councilor Redden says it may not take too long.
I'll second.
Councilor LeBlanc?
I'll second
You'll
it.
second that? Is there any discussion on the motion on the floor?
I'm really trying to understand it, to tell you the truth. Do you want this brief, do you want the public participation policy referred to the accessibility committee? But wouldn't they already look at public participation?
We're looking for a report from them.
Oh, a report from them?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, got it.
They may have comments, with respect to accessibility.
Okay.
Public participation.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? No. 7.6.
7.6, water supply, municipal planning strategies and land use bylaws. That municipal council include the following water supply, municipal planning strategies, and land use bylaws in the county-wide plan review. 1, Lake Katy water supply serving Cornwallis. 2, Lawrencetown water supply serving the village of Lawrencetown. And 3, Margarettsville water supply serving Margarettsville.
Is there a seconder for that? Councilor Longmire seconds. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say yes. Yes. All those opposed say no. Motion's carried. I'm looking at the clock. 10:55. We have public hearing at 11. I'm just taking a quick look at 7.7. I think what I'll do is I'll declare a recess. Welcome everyone. This is the resumption of the council meeting, July 19th. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing. It's the CMH application to amend the Bridgetown zoning map.
Can you adjourn the council meeting and convene the public hearing?
Sure. Clerk has asked me to obtain a motion to adjourn the council meeting so we can move into the public session. Moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councilor Longmire. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Motion's carried. Okay, so we're back into the public hearing. Again, it's the CMH application to amend the Bridgetown zoning map. We begin with welcoming remarks by myself. Council is to deal with one public hearing today. At the end of the public hearing, council will return to its regular session. The purpose of a public hearing is to permit members of the public to make their views known to council via oral or written submissions concerning solely the application before council. This public hearing concerns file number 66520-35, Bridgetown 2022, LUB 001. An application by CMH on behalf of the municipality of the County of Annapolis to make a text and map amendment to the Bridgetown Land Use Bylaw by removing part 9.3.2 bracket D bracket regarding the location of multi-unit buildings on local streets and to amend Bridgetown zoning to rezone the land identified as parcels PID numbers 051444787, 051444795, 0511423, and 05005475 in the community of Bridgetown from the institutional I-1 and open space 01 zones to the residential multiple R2 zone. The aforementioned text and map amendments will permit the redevelopment of the property from a former school to a multi-unit residential development consisting of 16 two-bedroom apartments and the potential future development of the remaining empty lots. All questions and comments throughout the public hearing are to be addressed to the chair, who will afford an opportunity for public input and will ask that persons speaking identify themselves each time so that their comments may be recorded in the minutes, and that the person speaking identify if they are speaking in favor of or against the application. Written presentations are acknowledged first, followed by public oral presentations. Questions and comments from council members are asked to be held until all public comment is heard. The next item on our agenda is the presentation of the application. Begin by the presentation by Mr. Lamb, the planner.
Thank you, Warden, and good morning, Council. I'll try to keep my summary of the project relatively brief, as many of you have heard it before. As the warden earlier stated, this is looking at both a text and a map amendment to the land use bylaw for the Bridgetown. This is a simple rezoning process, so it does not require an amendment to the municipal planning strategy. The planning process to date is we have done the amendment application received by the applicant. We have gone to the committee of the whole to have it forwarded on to both the BAAC, or the Bridgetown Area Advisory Committee, as well as the Planning Advisory Committee of the BAC. Both have reviewed it as well as talked to the public and sent on their recommendation to council, first reading, just as here today, to the public hearing. From the staff side of things, since this is considered a simple amendment, there's not too much for us to be worried about or concerned about. The big ones are that we do need to be aware of Part 6.5 and Part 6.8 of the land use bylaw. That states when council is looking at do an amendment of this type, we do need to be aware of the extended central sewer and water systems, road and other services proposed by the development. As we are aware from what the applicant has submitted, there will be none. The compatibility of the proposed development with adjacent land uses. This is a residential use being located within a residential designation. Therefore, it is a compatible land use. The direction and pattern of services with proposed use will establish within the town. Those uses and services are already pre-established from the property's earlier use as a school, which also had a larger impact on those services than it will as a 15 to 16 unit two-bedroom apartment building. And the environmental constraints of services, etc. There are none, as this is a repurpose. There'll be minimum movement of earth, soil, or any changes to the way the water is moving on the property, as far as we are currently aware with what has been submitted by the applicant. So we have no concerns there as either. The other one is, once again, it's Part 6.8. around the ultra-predominant character of the area and the amenities of the area. As I had stated earlier, from 6.5, staff has no concerns with either of those. This is, once again, a residential use that's expected to have a lower impact than its previous use as a school. Further on top of that, as I have added to this staff report, and I think it's important to note, this is a development pattern that we see throughout the rest of Bridgetown. Currently, there are, I think it's 4 situations that are similar of larger scale residential buildings being located within residential off of arterial streets, which is the other part that we are looking to remove here to allow that type of development, that kind of infill within the town of Bridgetown. Those examples are the 4-unit building on Water Street, the 8-unit building on the corner of Albert and Middle Street, and the 2 4-unit buildings located on the same property off Chapman Avenue. So on your kind of local smaller streets within the town, there is already similar multi-unit residential developments mixed into the building form. Therefore, that's kind of where we're coming with that statement that this does fit within the character of the area. The other thing to point out is that under policy 4.1 of the Bridgetown NPS, we do want to see moderate growth within the boundaries of the planning area, and we have not seen that moderate growth. From the planning side, that is an indication that we maybe need to reevaluate the type of housing options that are available in the town to encourage that new growth. And this is kind of the first steps in trying to get that new growth within the area by increasing the types and options of housing people can look at when they're looking to live within Bridgetown. And that continues to have additional goals that further increase from the existing land use bylaw. Unless there are any other questions, that will be the end of my part of the presentation.
Are there any questions for the planner, or should we leave the questions to later, Madam Clerk? Can you help me out?
Later.
Pardon me?
Leave them to later.
Yeah, I think we'll leave the questions to later. Thank you, Mr. Lamb. So don't go far.
I'll stay right here.
Next is the presentation of the request by the applicant, Mr. Bauer. Mr. Bauer, can you hear me? I think you're muted, Mr. Bauer. Mr. Bauer, we still cannot hear you.
Hello now?
Yes, there we go. So, good morning. Mr. Bauer, you have the floor. Would you like to make a presentation with respect to the application?
I can talk as much or as little as you like. From my perspective, it's a boardroom meeting that you're having. We've gone down over all the thoughts that we have as far as development goes. Bryson, I think, is right on the money. His first presentation this morning was his description of what we're doing. The broad objective is to turn this into 16 affordable rental apartments as soon as possible. And we're ready. So we're just, from our perspective, we're just waiting for paperwork so we can push ahead with the project.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bauer. Next item on the agenda is an acknowledgement of written submissions. Madam Clerk, have we received any?
No written submissions.
No written submissions. Okay, now I'm going to call for oral presentations from the public. First, I'll call for comments against the application. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak against the application? I'll make a second call for comments against the application. I'll make a third call for comments against the application. Seeing none, I'll move to the first call for comments in support of the application. I'll make a second call for comments in support of the application. And I'll make a third call for comments in support of the application. Let the record note that there were no either for or against the application. Next, are there any questions or comments from council members? Remember, we're still in the public session here rather than in our council meeting. Councilor Adam?
Yes, I have one question. I was looking through the municipal planning strategy. If I recall, it's section 6.4 talks about undeveloped land having to go R1 single dwelling or R3 agricultural. And the three of these blocks of land are zoned open space. And I was wondering if you could, I'm a little confused, I guess. Yeah. But this is learning process for all of us, so if you could elaborate some.
No, that's a great question. 6.4, the policy that you're referring to was the policy that was put in place when they were actually drafting both the land use bylaw based off of the policies. So that what that one is referring to is when they created the zoning map based off of the future land use map, which is tied to the municipal planning strategy. What they were saying there is that anything that was currently zoned or was undeveloped within the residential designation would become one of those two zones. And so that's what it was referencing to. It was referencing to the creation of the zoning map, not what happened to that zoning map afterwards. That's where you get your 6.5, which is the one that we had just talked about earlier, which is saying what council kind of has to consider as we move forward with the actual rezoning of it. So it's a policy for a different matter of the zoning map, not amendments.
Thank you. They're big and hard to sort through.
They really are.
Any other questions or comments from council? Okay, thank you. Then we'll move ahead to the planning process next steps. And I believe that Mr. Lamb, you're going to set these up for us.
Yes, of course. So as kind of laid out before you, this is a simple LUB amendment supported by the existing MPS policy. So it is not the same as a planning document procedure. Therefore, we do not need to send it to the Provincial Director of Planning for approval. This is a voting process done by council. Only council who is here at the meeting today, which I think is everyone, can vote on actually the second reading to approve this. After that has gone through, the adoption will be sent into the newspaper. That ad will go out the 28th of July. There's then a 14-day period at which the Utility Review Board can receive applications to appeal the amendment. Then we will send a certified copy of the amendment by law to the minister, just so they have a record of it. And there's a 100-day deemed refuse clause that will not affect us in this case. When the appeal period lapses or an appeal is disposed of, the amendment comes into effect and a development permit can be issued. So we had a 14-day period to see if we do receive an appeal. If we do not receive an appeal, at that point, it'll come into effect.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Lamb. That is the end of the public session. I should say the public hearing. I'll hopefully have a motion to adjourn that.
You can declare an adjournment and I can look into the executive session.
The clerk indicates that I can declare an adjournment of the public hearing. So I do declare completed and adjourned. So what we can do now is we're going to resume as in the regular session of council. And what we can do now, if we wish to deal with this now, is to amend the order of the day to deal with the final reading with respect to this application. And if council wishes to do that, I do have a suggested second final in the affirmative, if that's what council intends to do. So is there a desire by council to change the order of the day?
Yes.
And I'll accept a motion to change the order of the day. And Madam Clerk, would you please tell us what we should have on the agenda?
You will add CNH application, final reading.
Moved by Councillor Reagan. Is there a seconder to that motion? Councillor LeBlanc seconds. Is there any discussion about changing the order of the day so that we can deal with I keep getting the initials wrong. CMH, is it application? Any other discussions? If not, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say yes. Yes. Those opposed, no. Motion's carried. So, we are now at this item in the agenda with respect to the application that we've just heard. Is there, I guess, I'm trying to think out loud, which is always a problem. I mean, I don't want to prejudge where we're going to go. So I guess I'll have to wait for one of the councillors, Madam Clerk, to make a motion approving or not approving the application. Is that, do you think that's the proper process? I'll entertain a motion from any councillor with respect to the application before us. Deputy Warden, you wish to?
I would move that we accept the CMH final reading.
Okay. And is there a seconder for that? Councillor Longmire seconds. Now, with respect to the motion, the clerk has provided a formal reading of the motion, and if you want, Deputy Warden, I'll ask her to read it, and if you're agreeable to that, then if you and the seconder would accept that as the wording of your motion, it's consistent with your motion.
It was moved by Deputy Warden Gunn, seconded by Councillor Longmire, that pursuant to the favorable recommendations from the Annapolis County Planning Advisory Committee and the Bridgetown Area Advisory Committee, and in full consideration of the related goals, objectives, and policies of the Bridgetown Municipal Planning Strategy, the Municipal Council gives second and final reading of its intention to adopt an amendment to the Bridgetown Land Use Bylaw, removing Part 9.3.2D regarding the location of multi-unit buildings on local streets, and to amend the Bridgetown zoning map to rezone the land identified as parcels PID number 051444787, 051444795, 05114293, and 05005475 in the community of Bridgetown from the institutional I-1 and open space O1 zones to the residential multiple R2 zone. The aforementioned text and map amendments will permit the redevelopment of the property from a former school to a multi-unit residential development consisting of 16 two-bedroom apartments and the potential future development of the remaining empty lots.
That's the motion on the floor. It's in the affirmative with respect to the application. Any discussion? Any discussion with respect to the motion on the floor? Seeing none, then I will call for the vote. All those in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed? No. Thank you. The motion's passed. Thank you, Council. Just give me a minute to go back to the agenda and see where we are here. 7.7. We're at 7.7. Yeah, there we are. All right. 7.7.
Yes, sir. Bridgetown LUB zoning map amendment application. Riku Grayson. that municipal council consider the application submitted by Rico Reyes to amend the Bridgetown land use bylaw, LUB map, to include rezoning the land identified as parcel PID 05149976 at 271 Granville Street in the community of Bridgetown from institutional I1 zone to the downtown commercial C1 zone to permit the development of the property from the former town hall to a mixed-use development consisting of commercial space on the main floor and a two-bedroom unit upstairs, and adopt a public participation process involving the referral of the application to the Bridgetown Area Advisory Committee and the Planning Advisory Committee, PAC, for their review and recommendation, and hold a PAC-sponsored public meeting in the community of Bridgetown on Wednesday, September 21st September 21st, 2022 at 7 p.m. Location to be announced.
Thank you, sir. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Hudson seconds. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed say no. Motion's carried.
7.8. Former Bridgetown Hall application for heritage registration. The municipal council refer the former Bridgetown Town Hall property, heritage property application to the Heritage Advisory Committee for review recommendation for inclusion in the Registry of Heritage Properties.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Hudson seconds. I will say that previously council directed staff to prepare the application. I saw it this morning. I signed it. We learned last week that Mr. Risen now owns the property, so the application is going forward from the county as a landowner with respect to the heritage registration of the property. Any comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next is the proof of vaccination policy.
7.9 AM-2.7.8 COVID-19 proof of vaccination policy amendment. That municipal council amend AM-2.7.8 COVID-19 proof of vaccination policy as amended in accordance with 7-day notice given.
Is there a seconder for that? Councilor Longmire seconds. Discussion? Councilor Deputy Warden.
Thank you. I'm going to go to page 50 of 55 and 6.3 that hasn't been removed yet. That paragraph, which gives municipal council the decision on what it has. It says council gets to decide the consequence. Well, in 5.4, it says that the warden gets to decide the consequence. And then down to 6.3, it says council. So I believe that 6.3, I would make a motion that 6.3 of this policy be removed from the text.
Is there a seconder for that? I don't see a seconder.
I'll second that for discussion.
Councilor LeBlanc seconds. I will, I think at this point, I read this over after all the changes we made at committee of the whole. And I had difficulty with 5.4 because of the vagueness of 5.4. I'm not going to get into it right now because I intend to later. Some things are left to the warden, some things the warden shall do things, but then he may do things, and he talks to the counselor, but he doesn't say what. So to me, what I'm going to do, and I discussed this with Councillor Longmire because she seems to be the one that was bringing this motion forward last day. I drafted a more simple process, which I believe is consistent with the wish of council from last day. But it is going to better withstand, I think, any challenges, and it won't require the warden or the council to be put in a position of making decisions about this person or that person, or this situation or that situation. So that's coming. I'm going to do that, but the motion on the floor is 6.3, and in my motion, I will ask that 6.3 be removed because if my amendment is accepted, then there won't be any need for 6.3. And part of the reason is, if you look at 6.3, it allows people that are not vaccinated to be sitting at our council meetings. They can say that they're protected by religion reasons, health reasons, human rights reasons, and if council decides so if that's a valid reason, they're still sitting with us and not vaccinated, and my proposal would not have that happen. Anyway, the motion on the floor right now is with respect to 6.3. Councilor LeBlanc.
I'm looking at the last part of 6.3. The councillor follow alternative measures such as weekly testing or attending meeting virtually. Well, I think that's an important part of this. I agree with the municipal council should be out of there completely. I don't know what you have planned for 5.4, so we can't go in that direction yet. So, instead of saying if a councillor does not comply with this policy, maybe it should just say a councillor will be given alternative measures.
That's a fair comment. It's not for me to respond. I'm just the chair at this point. Any other comments?
So at this time, should this be referred back to staff so you can put your...
I have, mine is not, I have it, I'm going to make an amendment. Okay, and I have it written out. I'm going to pass it around. And I'm going to go over 5.4 and I'm going to explain why I think it should be changed. What I'd like to do, if it's all right with the mover and seconder, is if I could put my suggestion on the floor and see whether or not that might help matters. But that's up to the mover and seconder, but I'll go to Councillor Britton.
I think that Deputy Warden raised a very good point here. It's not the way I had read it. Excuse me. I had read 6.3 was what you would do if the rest of the policy was not followed. Where 5.4 is under process and 6.3 is under compliance. So kind of one follows the other, but I certainly understand the way he's read it that way, and I don't have an argument for why you wouldn't read it that way. But I'm also happy to put a motion to table the amendment. Table's the right one? Defer? I think it's table for now. While we
see what I have.
Hear what the warden has to say.
I see some nods. Can I just put this Deputy Warden, would you like to withdraw your motion and bring it back later if you wish?
Yes.
Councilor, okay with that?
Yes, I'm fine with that.
Well, then I'd like to make an amendment if I could, and I'm going to hand out the amendment, which I've typed out, and ask that it be circulated.
Is there another one for me?
Yeah.
Give them my back.
That's another one for you.
I'll just take it.
And I want to say that I believe this is in accordance with the wishes of council from the last committee of the whole meeting. What I'm doing is I'm trying to assist in the process and so in making my amendment, I'd like to I guess I should put the amendment on the floor and then explain. And to explain it, I have to go back to the 5.4 that's before you. So.
You need to pass the chair over?
Oh yeah, good point. I'll pass the chair to the deputy warden.
All right.
I'd like to move an amendment for 5.4A. If a councillor has not provided confirmation of their vaccination status, as set out in section 5.2, the councillor shall provide proof of a COVID-19 test result to the warden on the day of or a day immediately preceding any scheduled meeting. Pretty simple. They haven't provided proof. If they haven't proved, now there's a difference. I guess I'll read it first. They provide confirmation of the vaccination. They haven't provided confirmation of vaccination status. Then they have to take a test. If the test is negative, the councillor shall be allowed to attend the meeting in person. If the test is positive, the councillor shall be required to attend the meeting virtually. And then the next paragraph D is the same as in 5.4. In the instance of meetings called with limited notice, time may be provided for the councillor to do COVID-19 testing before the meeting is called to order. E, if a councillor refuses to provide proof of a COVID-19 test result, as described in 5.4A, they shall be required to attend the meeting virtually. F, if a councillor is required to attend a meeting virtually pursuant to this policy, those attendances will not count against the councillor pursuant to the virtual meetings of council policy. I think it's video conferencing. So that's the amendment would be, and there's a deputy warden, that's my amendment.
Yes, sir. Any second?
Yeah.
So if I could speak to it now?
Yes, sir.
I'd like council to turn to 5.4 on page 50 of 55. If everybody's with me on 50 of 55. So it says, if a councillor is not vaccinated, and by the way, my proposal means that a person never has to actually disclose whether they're vaccinated. They have to disclose whether or not they present proof of vaccination. There's a subtle difference there. The old 5.4 says if the councillor is not vaccinated, the councillor must disclose in writing to the warden the reason for not being vaccinated. The warden will review the information, and after consultation with the councillor, so what's that mean? The warden's supposed to, does that mean the warden can say, oh, I've had a chat and I think this or I think that? I don't think the warden, whether it's me or somebody else, wants to be in that position. And this idea about disclosing and writing the reason, where does that lead us? Is the warden supposed to figure if it's a good reason or a bad reason? Anyway, it says the warden will review the information and after consultation with the councillor, will take alternative actions as follows. So that's mandatory. So he has a talk, but he's still got to do these things, which again is inconsistent. A, the councillor may be asked to provide proof of a negative COVID-19 test result to the warden on the day of or the day immediately preceding any scheduled meeting. So this is now we're reverting to the name. Okay, so the warden had to do something under A, but then A is permissive. It doesn't say what is going to happen. And I guess it doesn't say who makes this decision about the counselor may be asked. Maybe that's council makes that decision. It doesn't say that the warden is going to do it. It says the counselor may be asked to provide proof. And then there's the B, which is in mine. And then C, the counselor may be required to attend meetings virtually. Well, may, who's going to decide that? We're going to come back to this room. We're going to have more discussion. I don't think this is properly worded. I think this is going to be causing problems, is what I think when I read it. So, now if I could go back to my proposal, if you could pull that up. My proposal is very simple, and it doesn't leave any room for any debate, discussion, challenges, nothing. It's simple. So here it is. If a counselor has not provided confirmation of their vaccination status, as it's set out in 5.2, so they refuse to give us their vaccination status. The counselor shall provide proof of COVID-19 test result to the warden on the day of or a day immediately preceding any scheduled meeting. So before any meeting, if anybody hasn't given us confirmation of their vaccination status, they have to provide evidence of a test within 24 hours. Okay, that's pretty simple. And it goes to the warden. If the test, under B, if the test result is negative, he can come to the meeting. If it's positive, he can't. He has to attend virtually. Pretty simple. So, by that situation, we're protected, we counselors, if there's a concern that we might be infected by a counselor who might be unvaccinated, we're protected by the fact that he has to have tested negative within 24 hours. And remember, any one of us that have been vaccinated can still get COVID, right?
That's right.
We've given, those of us that have given our vaccination status are removed from this. So then if a counselor refuses to provide proof of the 19 test result, he says, I'm not doing it, then they attend virtually. Okay, like he says, I'm not doing it. Then, okay, but you attend virtually. And then the last one is just that these won't count as one of the three. Now, if you go down to 6.3 at the bottom, also remove 6.3. This is no longer necessary. If the purpose of the policy is to protect other council members from the risk of contracting COVID-19 from an unvaccinated counselor, the current section would put those other counselors, the current section, the one here drafted, would put those other counselors at risk if the counselor who did not obey the requirement to provide a rapid test had a valid reason for doing so. A religious reason, and there's been some cases out west where these have been upheld, health reasons. If I get a needle, I'm going to have a bad reaction. Human rights, then these people would, under the 6.3, they'd be able to come to the meeting. Also required is the removal of the word counselor from section 5.1. So if you go back to the draft 5.1, it says, county requires all counselors and employees to be fully vaccinated. Okay? Well, under my plan, we're not requiring counselors to be fully vaccinated. What we're saying is, if you haven't given us proof of your vaccination status, then you've got to take a rapid test before you come to any meetings, period. So I would remove that counselors from 5.1. So that's my proposal on my amendment, and I pass the floor back to the chair.
Yes, sir. Who's next? Councilor Longmire.
Thank you. I really like how the majority of that has been reworked, and I would like to say that going back and reworking policies time and time again, there will always be words that are just contrary to each other and just should be, so the shalls and the mays and all of this. I would like to just draw our attention to what is proposed as an amendment, E and F. So on the single sheet that you've been provided. If a counselor under E, if a counselor refuses to provide proof of COVID-19 test result, they shall be required to attend the meeting virtually. Then we have F, if a counselor is required to attend a meeting virtually pursuant to this policy, those attendances will not count against the counselor pursuant to the virtual meetings of council policy. My only concern here is it's quite different to do a test and attend virtually than it is to refuse. To me, refusal to do the test, yes, I would see being able to attend virtually as an option, but I would equally see it counting against the number of meetings that can be attended virtually pursuant to our policy. Quite different than if a test is done and comes in as a negative or a positive, that person can attend virtually and not count against the 3. Because I really believe, that when you refuse to do a test, you're actually, I'm going to go back and say you're infringing on my rights. And the policy is here to protect the greater, and it is important to recognize flexibility and options for all so that we can continue to do business. But I think there's quite a difference between refusing to do a test and not wishing to follow along. Those virtual meetings, in my opinion, should count towards the 1 of 3, or 2 of 3, or 3 of 3. And I guess that's just where I stand at that.
Anyone else? Councilor Barrow.
Just one thought that popped up when we go back to 5.1, and what about removing the counselors from test item, and the previous comment about this one-page sheet would not allow challenges. Well, since we're fixated on council, the thought of challenges from others that we're allowing council to push through our human beings and staff are human beings, and all of a sudden we allow staff to be treated differently, then all of a sudden we can get challenges from outside council related to that policy change. Just want to throw that in there for everybody to think about.
Any other comments? Well, I do have something that I wanted to point out myself. Oh, Councilor Ritter, maybe somebody has. You will.
Excuse me. I quite like this. I do like the side effect that it's good on privacy. It also protects councilors' privacy if that's their concern, which is great. And if removing 6.3 is also good, I quickly just went back in our package and looked at procedures of council policy, and kind of refusing to comply with any of our policies means you're still subject to discipline of council. I won't bother reading that here, but that's still kind of there. And I wanted to disagree with Councillor Longmire, especially on 5.4F. counting towards your absences to the video conferencing policy. In large part because I never thought there should be a number of times you could video conference into a council meeting anyways. I always thought there should be fine to do that. So we want to go somewhere or vacation, you can video conference in. So that's, I think there's no reason we should be able to attend these meetings any way we can. It works out. So, and I really commend the warden for taking the initiative to polish something up that fits well here, I think.
Councilor LeBlanc?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do like the way it was presented. I do understand the video thing because we only have 3. But I mean, when we look at this, we're going to have to be a little bit more flexible because 3 is okay. It's 3, but then it doesn't mean that I can be and you can be God knows where and come back with something you didn't even know you carried until you got here. So the way it's being transmitted, we could venture on being over the 3 because something else might pop up where you're in the I don't know, there's somewhere where you can't leave because of certain circumstances and you're using one of those up. So 3 is, I think that 3 video thing, conference thing, or virtual, we're going to have to maybe look at it because I tend to agree that giving it a number, there's a positive to it and there's a negative to it, which is where Councillor Redden is coming from, and I tend to agree. Because if it's reasonable, then and you're at number 4, then it makes no sense to be able to be cut out. Because if I'm stuck somewhere and I have for whatever reason that I have to meet with, I'm just going to look at my own scenario. Doctors and surgeons and this and that, and I have to be there. I can't be here and there at the same time. So I think that somehow we're going to have to look at that, mainly because, and I refer to the whole thing always to the warden, because he's the head, that he would be able to say, okay, so-and-so, Diane has good reason not to be here, I know the reason, and we should accept the fact that it's not going to go against her, or anybody else. So, I understand Councillor Alan Meyer's way of thinking, but we're encompassing the 3 with COVID changes and with everything else. So the 3 days is, or the 3 sessions is kind of like I might not take 3 days for COVID, but I need to take 3 days because I have to do the virtual because of all these other things that I have to be involved with. I can't shut these other things down and think that those people are going to bend for me because it doesn't work that way. So that's the only thing. So I see both ways, but I think we're going to have to review certainly the video meeting policy to see if we can tighten it up or give the warden a little bit more leeway. Now with the 4.4 sidebar, 4.4 ABCDEF, I see that the 6.3 is that what it was? Yeah, it doesn't really need to be there. The 5.1, it says the county requires all councillors and employees to be fully vaccinated. You seem to think, I believe, the concept is it's more or less taken up in 5.2, but we could always, the county requires all councillors and employees Follow vaccination rules according to Nova Scotia COVID-19 immunization plan. It could be shorter. And then it certainly complies with the Nova Scotia COVID-19 community. We're just going from here to there. So I think we could tighten up 5.1, remove 6.3, and in the near future look at that video thing for the 3 days. That's my opinion. I'll leave it as it is. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Oh, Councillor Connell?
I'm for putting a limit on the video communication. We're elected to be here and participate. That means if there is no time limit, then I could go to Arizona for 6 months and do a video conference. And there's nothing really anyone can do about it. So I'm for having a set amount. I think we already have protocol in place and stuff. If someone's got a doctor's appointment or someone's got something like that, they can be excused by council. This is not something that's being asked to be excused by council. This is something that's just giving us the terms of the reference of how many days they're allowed to use it. I find that 5.1 contradicts 5.4. One says the county requires all councillors to be vaccinated, in which 5.4 sets out the guidelines if someone decides not to be vaccinated, how to proceed. So I agree that council should come out of 5.1. But one of the biggest problems I have is that here we are making a policy for staff and council, but we have public come in and sit in our galley today. We don't know if they're vaccinated or not. So really, why are we being punished when we're having an open galley? That's all my concern is that we're restricting ourselves and staff, making it mandatory, but we're allowing people to come in the back door and sit among us. Pretty contradictory in my mind.
Anyone else?
Yeah, just perhaps some clarification. Shall provide proof of COVID-19 test results. What exactly will that proof consist of? Will they bring in a little thing, or?
I think maybe
what will be
Say that again. What's the question again?
No, what will be considered acceptable proof?
It's all in the way you decide to, do you have someone conduct that test in front of the warden? It's all indeterminate. I think we're just complicating this, honestly. I think we have to be reasonable adults and recognize that we can certainly let someone go to a private space and conduct that test and in honesty trust, the process. I go back, can I speak? Sorry.
Sure, you're already.
Sorry. I can't remember. Yeah, it's over here, Deputy Warden. Councillor Connell made used the word contradictory. Yeah, for sure. It could all be seen as contradictory. But we conduct business. We're part of a council. We have an obligation and a responsibility. The members who come in from the public visitors would require a completely different policy. One that I know we don't have in place. As far as when you check in at the front door, it says, and I know we all check it. I laugh when I check it, of course, because we aren't. What are we following? Have you followed any protocol? We're not. So I guess it just goes back to visitors, persons visiting the site, wanting to make a presentation, be it whatnot, visit an office. They would be seen under a completely different visitation policy. There should be protocols in place. We need our business place to be safe so that others feel safe to come into it. And COVID-19 is only one part of this. And so going back to Councillor LeBlanc, this about, with E, if a counselor refuses to provide proof of that test, that goes back to Councillor Hudson. Like, how do we know that test has been confirmed? I would not want to think that we couldn't trust the person to do the test. Refusing is the issue. That means I hand a test over to someone and they just refuse flat out to do it. And to me, that defeats protective measures for all. And so, if you refuse to do the test, Councillor Blala said, should we limit the number based on our virtual policy? No, I don't personally want to restrict, but we have excuses. We have the option to be excused from meetings and committee of the whole and council. So, there's other protective measures in place. This is just speaking to COVID-19. So I think it does get a bit tangled up in a much broader conversation than it should. This would clearly be COVID-19, refusal to do that part. I would not like to think, because we're not out of this. We are continuing down another pathway right now. We don't know what the fall is going to present. Are we always going to have to come back to it and say, it's been 3 meetings? I liked what Councillor Redden said. Should there really be a limit on virtual anyway? We learned that hybrid works. And we can still conduct great business and have great conversations. Being in person, yes, does bring about a different level of intimacy around those conversations. You get to see, people up close and personal, right? And so there is I like that kind of business better, but virtual works. The hybrid format works, and we're not going to be limited through COVID-19. We're going to be looking at that for the future for conducting business. So I don't really think that we need to perhaps restrict. I just don't like the word refuse. I think refuse sends the message that we'll always offer so many options. I think I'm contradicting myself. But I like the conversation, and I see a balance of it all. And I did like what has been brought to us. Thanks.
Anyone else? No. Councillor Barrett.
So with that, we're discussing the mandate from the board. We drifted off in 5.4, which if the comment is to take a councilor out of that, then all of a sudden that's defeating what 5.4 is all about. If it's a desire, it's not the county's decision not to be vaccinated. If it's the county's desire to have everybody vaccinated, we should not touch that. That should remain in there. And then the alternative of a choice is dealt with on 5.4. If you start going back into the rest of it, then if you're not required to do that, then all of a sudden this becomes a little bit meaningless. So I think that we should leave 5.1 alone which drifted into 5.2 as well. So they encounter I've kind of mixed emotions about whether or not the virtual meetings are limited in respect to that. If you want to stay home, if you want to get away somewhere and zoom in, like, can that be used? I'm just throwing that out there from the blunders on. Why would we have to designate that? Now, I guess if the only problem that would be is if they were virtually from home, would be if they actually get COVID. We don't want them in here to get COVID. How often is that going to happen? Like, I think the worry is how many times we use that. If it's only going to be used when that's the case, and hopefully never, then it's not that big of an issue. So I think that related to that, whether it counts or not counts in 1-3 or 3-2, 3-3, that you're allowed for video calls, zooming in. I don't think that's not that big of an issue. So I just have a problem with that. But going back to the original point, I think we should stay with 5.1 because that's what it's. Why would we ask the staff to do it for not asking council as well? Because these are people that are in the building. If for some reason, by choice or religion or whatever, that doesn't happen for someone, then it's important to have 5.4 in there to deal with it. And I'd like to thank the board for the time and effort you put into putting this together, because I believe it does do a better line on what items that was previously stated. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Morrison.
Thank you. I'd just like to inquire about our work program and timings for the remainder of the day, please.
I guess thanks to the chair. It's 12:07. No, but no, this is not he's not giving information on the floor.
That's the chair. Yeah, he's in the chair.
Okay, well.
As soon as we get this problem, then we'll stop. We'll take a break for lunch if it's all right. Other times.
Well, if that goes on much longer, I have to leave.
Okay. So we'll try to wind this up pretty quick. So, are there any other comments? I have a comment, which I'm quite sure I'm allowed to give. I would go to C on, and first of all, I very much appreciate this, which you've written. It sort of calms the waters quite nicely. But C, C of if the test result is positive, the counselor shall be required to attend the meeting virtually. Well, that's fine. And my comment would be, although people get vaccinated, people can still contact COVID. They can still walk around and not even know they have it. So that's whether you're vaccinated or not. My other comment was, as far as the meetings go, and I agree with Councillor Conlon. We had a lad a few years ago who wanted to run for council, but he spent, I think it was 6 months of the year overseas working off the coast, drilling for oil or something. But he'd be away 3 months at a time, and he wanted to attend the meeting virtually. Well, that wasn't allowed back. That wasn't allowed. So since then, we've come into COVID. We're having all kinds of meetings virtually. So that's, just a point I wanted. And the other thing is, if we have another pandemic, will we be here making another policy for whatever that pandemic may be? And still have this policy. And after a while, we're going to be vaccinated to the hilt. Or not. I'll stop there. Now,
So if I could close the discussion, if somebody else wants to, and I'm
go ahead, Ward.
apprehensive about Councillor Morrison's request, so I'm going to try and be brief. With respect to the number of meetings, if we don't allow these not to count, then if it's only 3, then we have 2 meetings a month under what I've drafted. The councillor may not even be able to attend if he uses up his 3. He can't even come to council meetings because if he, unless if he refuses to do the testing, he wouldn't be able to come once he used up the 3. So I think that these shouldn't count, and I don't think any councillor, present or future, is going to not present proof of vaccination just so he can attend meetings virtually. I don't think that's going to happen. So that's why I think F should be in there. Secondly, I completely agree with Councillor Connell's comments. You'll recall I voted against the motion at Committee of the Whole, and this is what all I'm trying to do is create a better process to reach the same result that the Committee of the Whole passed, because I saw some probably legal problems with the discretions, the vagueness, and I was trying to clean it up. I don't even know if I'm going to vote for my own amendment, but it's much better than the 5.4. You have to understand that under the current policy that was presented to us, it would allow a non-vaccinated councillor to attend our meetings if he gave a good reason, religious, health, whatever. And I don't think that's the wish of council. This would not allow a non-vaccinated councillor to attend unless he proved within 24 hours that he had a rapid test. Under 5.1, we say all councillors must be vaccinated. Well, I think 20% of people in Nova Scotia aren't vaccinated. What is it?
Maybe 7%.
7%? I don't know. Anyway, whatever that percentage is, it would mean that in the next election, somebody who wasn't vaccinated, I guess, couldn't run. If you say in our policy, you must be vaccinated to run. Under what I've drafted, that person can run, but before each meeting, he's going to show a rapid test that he doesn't have COVID. So I think this is cleaner. It leaves away the warden having to decide something, council having to decide something, having every time we have a meeting, because this is for every meeting, then I think it's a lot cleaner. So I put forward this amendment.
All right. I'll call the question. Anybody, any other comments? Councillor Crowe?
No. Thank you.
On the amendment.
Before you call the question, may I say, what are you calling the question on? First section, 5.4A? Or the middle section? Or are we going to go, or the third section? Are we going 1, 2, and 3?
The amended as presented.
Assuming we'll hear this afternoon.
Yeah.
Yes.
The amendment as presented.
Councillor Morrison, what time will you be back?
45 minutes.
Okay.
What are we doing?
Okay.
So, on the amendment.
My motion was to include everything on
the amendment.
Everything on the page.
The whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Just needed to be clear.
Okay. So I'm going to call it. Yes, sir.
everything on the page, the last two paragraphs are more descriptors of something else to happen, not part of what would be policy with it. It also would require removal for council from 5.1 and also removed by 6.3. Those aren't really.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's like,
You're right, but
doesn't make.
you're right. Those could be separate motions, or my intention would be to move to remove 5.1 and remove 6.3 later. After, if you want. That's
better. Well, I'll concur with that.
We're.
All right, here we go. Pencil written.
This doesn't work if you do it in pieces. If you pass 5.4 and then don't pass 5.1, 5.4 doesn't work anymore. So, the motion should be
from the bottom up.
No, it should be one piece because the whole you could maybe leave it at 6.3, but the top two need to go together. They function together. If you go without the other, you've got something that doesn't work. So, yes, as somebody who you're right, it is description, but my thought is they really need to be together.
Madam Clerk.
If the mover is amenable, and for clarity in the minutes, I would suggest that all of 5.4 be included, semicolon, and remove 6.3, semicolon, and remove the word counselors from 5.1.
I would agree with as the mover. I would agree with that amendment.
Councilor LeBlanc is the second.
Fine with that?
For clarity.
I'll approve that.
There we go. Oh, good, we're in agreement.
So that wouldn't be inserting all, including the semicolons. The semicolons would only get active if done editing.
Semicolon counselors from section 5.1. Is that it? That's what you're saying, right?
You guys run back and forth here a minute.
On the printed copy.
Yes.
When it's translated into the minutes, what I'm suggesting is at the end of F, pursuant to the AM 1.2.0.1 video conferencing policy, semicolon, and remove section 6.3, semicolon, and remove the word counselors from section 51.
Yeah, just those words.
If I can interrupt, that should be a new G, because F starts off if he's required to attend a meeting virtually. So I think what you're saying I agree with, but it should be a new G.
There should be a G.
What should be G?
To what you said after the semicolon, to remove 6.3 and remove the word counselors from 5.
Right.
It should be G.
But it's not a G.
Oh, okay, well, it's not G because G would be in section 5.4.
Yeah, it's not a G.
It's a separate.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. But that's what I meant. Yeah.
That's your amendment. So where do we stand here now? That's what I'm looking to find out. We've got an amendment that the warden has presented. We've gone through it. We chatted about it. Councilor Bartley, you wanted to say something else for the third time, by the way.
No, it's not third time. Just
okay.
Qualification or clarification to put that in there as part of the insertion. It sounds kind of stupid to say and remove. Would it be cleaner if we just did 5.4 and keep it part of that motion? You know, it's not to insert that because that what we're saying is we're putting that in there. Yeah, the bottom two things are actions to which amends 5.1 and 6.3. They're not related to 5.4.
true. Yeah, as the mover of the amendment, the clerk showing me when the motion took place, she's got
Section 5.4.
and then,
And remove sections.
okay, she's got the word and.
Remove.
Okay, so if I could help you, you can't see it, but it says, after the video conferencing policy under F, there's a semicolon and the word and then she goes down the line, remove section 6.3, and then down the line, remove the word counselors from section 5.
So that those are separate from the 5.4.
Okay, so I agree with that. That's my motion.
All right.
So visually.
Anyone else? I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the amendment, say yay. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That is carried. All in favor. Oh, and noes? No. That's it. I'll hand it back to you, Ward.
Thank you very much, Deputy Warden. Appreciate it. Are there any other comments with respect to the COVID-19 vaccination policy? If not, I'll call for the vote. There's a motion on the floor. The motion is amended. All those in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed?
No.
I do want to make one other point that the clerk brought up with me. As I've said, my amendment reflected, in my mind, what was already agreed to at the Committee of the Whole. And accordingly, it's my view that this policy can go into effect now, as it's not a major change to the 7-day notice. So that's my view. Because it's, like I said, it's not changing the import of what was decided, it's just changing the wording a little bit. So unless somebody has some difficulty with that, that's my view, is that it should go into effect once it's passed.
I would ask a question. So we're not in any kind of government pandemic awareness now or anything. The government's not declaring an emergency or anything.
Deputy Warden, if I could interrupt, I really don't want to get into, I was just clarifying the process.
Well, the process has got a lot to do with it, Warden.
The process that this is going to go into effect now, it's not a major change. The 7-day notice has been given, and it'll operate pursuant to the 7-day notice. And I'm happy if you want to address that.
I'm not involved.
Okay. So I will declare a lunch break. It's 12:43. Let's see. Let's make it 2 o'clock. Welcome, everybody. We've returned from our lunch break at our municipal council meeting. At this point, I'll entertain a motion to go in camera. And Deputy Warden, if you want to read that.
Oh, look at that. Oh, in camera. That municipal council meeting camera in accordance with section 22(2)C, personnel matters, and F, litigation or potential litigation of the MGA.
Is there a seconder for that? Councilor Craig seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. This is the resumption of the council meeting for July 19th. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councilor Sheridan, seconded by the Deputy Warden. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say yes. Yes. Opposed? Motion's carried.